I have to ask you this. Did you know Mr. Obama when you were at school, or were you just in the same class?
Well, it's the same story that I've told, John, for 7 years now. Keep in mind, for 6 years, Obama's been president. This is his sixth year. And then, of course, he was announced he was running. So it's been 7 years I've been asked, did you know Barack Obama? And for 7 years, I've said the same thing. I knew everyone at Columbia, in particular, everyone who was a political science major or pre-law. And I never met Obama, never heard of Obama, never saw Obama. If I wanted to make up a lie, I'd say I knew him, he was my best friend. But instead, that's how you know I'm telling the raw truth. Never met him, never heard of him, never saw him. And I'm telling you, I knew everyone in our class. Now you say, well, Wayne, did anyone know Obama? Well, I've asked around among all my friends at Columbia University, class of 83. Only 700 kids in the class. Nobody ever met or saw or heard of Barack Obama. I asked the professor, Henry Graff, who's the most honored professor in the history of Columbia, 45 years as the head of the history department, and the presidential historian of Columbia. If anyone would know about a kid who went on to become president, it would be Columbia's presidential historian.
Well, duh.
Henry Graff said, I have great doubts Obama ever went to Columbia. There's something strange going on. He was never in my class, and I don't know another professor who ever had him in their class. I don't know how much stronger I can be in saying this, but something was wrong about Obama's story. I've never said he didn't go there. I've said something smells rotten at Columbia. There's a reason why you never saw him in class, and it leads to where we are today with a guy who I think is a Manchurian candidate as president of the United States.
Well, I'm right there with you. I was just about to, you actually cut to the answer before I even asked the question. It's like, who is this guy? We've had people come on the program. These are learned, very intelligent, very thorough, always watching for blowback, making sure that they don't say something just so outrageous, which may be based in emotion, which is certainly understandable. But these are measured, analytical people who say they're not even sure he knows who he really is. I've even heard up to 6 names being associated with this man. It's absolutely beyond anything I've ever seen. And
I'll tell you what my conclusion is, because I hope you'll want to hear, as the guy who went to college with him, theoretically, graduated on the exact same day and majored at the exact same things, what I think all this means. Here's my 3 conclusions. And I wrote this very clearly in my new book, The Murder of the Middle Class. I don't think anyone has ever put in writing before in a book these comments about Barack Obama. Number 1, he wasn't there. Why? Well, I don't believe he didn't go to college at Columbia. I just believe he got in and he graduated. In between, he never went to class. 2 completely different things. And I think it's the same guy you see as president today. Barack Obama, no matter how bad things are in the economy, no matter how many jobs are lost, no matter how bad the world is falling apart, he's playing golf and going to fundraisers. Same guy that I went to college with who thought he was too good to do the work of a student at Columbia like I felt I had to do. I thought part of your job in college is you go to class every day. Not Obama. He had an ego the size of Texas even then. And he thought he was too good to go to class every day. And he thought he could skip all the classes, show up maybe just for a final, write some BS down, and convince the teacher he deserved a gentleman's C. And I'm sure that's what happened, because he sealed his records. They're unavailable. No one could ever check his record or his grade. So my guess is he spent his time smoking pot, hanging out with terrorists like Bill Ayers, his buddy, and talking about the downfall of America and attending Communist Party meetings. That's what I think he was doing for 2 years at Columbia when he should have been in class and he was never there. And I think that's a perfect analogy for how he serves as president today. You know, it was just a few months ago that we had a Ukraine being invaded by Russia. And on the day of the invasion, there was an emergency national security meeting. And Obama attended a White House Film Festival and said, just give me the notes on it later. You just can't even believe this stuff. That's the kid who never went to class at Columbia. So that's number 1. Number 2, how did he get into Columbia? He had lousy grades at Occidental. Everyone agrees. He was a slacker and a pot smoker, never went to class there either. And yet he transferred into one of the 5 best colleges in the world, which never allows transfer students unless you're like number 1 in your class at Harvard. How did Obama get in? Well, Columbia is one of the most leftist institutions in the world. And they love diversity, and they love affirmative action, and they love students from faraway countries. They love to brag we have students from 160 countries. And I believe Obama committed fraud and said that I'm an Indonesian citizen and used his Indonesian passport and probably Indonesian citizenship that he got when he was a kid with his mom and his stepdad in Indonesia. He lived there for about 5 years. We all know that. Forget about Kenya. I'm not a birther. I don't care about any of that. I think he was probably born in Honolulu, and he is who he says he is. But my guess is he's the birther because he committed fraud and called himself a foreign citizen to gain admittance to Colombia when he had no right to get in, and he jumped to the top of the line. And why is that important? Because it tells you everything about the character of the man who's now president, who lies about everything. He said he cut the debt. He said he cut the deficit in half. He said, if you like your insurance, you can keep it. And he also said your insurance will go down $2,500 per year per family. In my first term, it went up $3,000 per year per family. He's the greatest fraud in the history of the White House. And I think he learned how to lie at Columbia because he learned if you lie, you get what you want. And he does the same thing today. And then the third thing I wrote in my book is he was undoubtedly there because every kid I ever went to Columbia with called themselves a communist or a Marxist. And they all said they wanted to bring the country down and destroy America and bring every white, and these are white kids for the most part, every white capitalist business owner to their knees begging for government to save them, thereby creating a socialist country and creating social justice for minorities in America. This is what I heard, John, day and night and day at Columbia. And the way they said they would do it is a plan called Cloward Piven, 2 Columbia professors who said you overwhelm the system with spending and debt and entitlements. And damned if that's not what's happening to the United States of America as we speak right now. 15% of the population on food stamps, more people on disability than the population of Greece, the amount of people on welfare, 106 million on entitlements. The country is overwhelmed. It's going under in a ball of flame. And this guy is sitting back laughing at all of us. He learned it all at Columbia.